Hey guys, welcome back. I'm using a molded stone from the HappyDottingCompany molds, and I'm going to be using some alcohol inks. You guys might have seen me create this in my last tutorial, Fun with Alcohol Inks. Now I just want to let you know I've been given some tips and some tricks, and the biggest tip of all is to wear a mask or be in an outdoor setting, very well ventilated area. Or wear a mask while you're outside in a well-ventilated area, because the vapors from the alcohol inks can be very harmful for you. So it's not just like acrylic paint that's non-toxic and it's not going to hurt you. If you breathe it in, you got to wear a mask and protect your lungs. And even though like we're using rubbing alcohol as well, that's not, supposed to be very good for your lungs either. So definitely protect yourself and be safe with it. And whatever you're trying out, whether it's resin, whether it's a UV spray, stuff like that, do it outside and wear a mask. That's all I can suggest. And just be safe with it. We're allowed to have fun with our artwork. Just make sure that you're reading the directions and you're being super safe, okay? So you guys saw me do this in my last tutorial. I painted a handmade art stone using a mold from HappyDottingCompany. Make sure you check them out on Etsy, and you can order that stuff from Amazon through HappyDottingCompany as well. So even if you're in a place where it says they don't ship to your country or they don't ship to your address, try getting HappyDottingCompany stuff on Amazon. So I've covered my stone after drying it for over a week. And then I put 2 coats of white paint on, and it's all blurry right now. I'm really sorry, but I'm basically just standing back and I'm leaning over, dripping all this color onto the stone. It's a super easy process. I grabbed a little bit of fine glitter, and I sprinkled a little bit of that on there as well, so the glitter kind of moves around with the alcohol ink. I also just do a little drip here and there of the rubbing alcohol, and I guess it's good to use 91% rubbing alcohol, not the 70% that I'm using. Although I don't mind the effects that I'm getting from the 70%, I guess it moves around better with 91% rubbing alcohol. So I've let it dry. I'm going to be covering it in Mod Podge. If you guys want a longer look at this, definitely take a look at my last tutorial, Fun with Alcohol Inks. I just posted it, I believe, yesterday or the day before. And you get to see the whole process a little bit longer. I cover it with Mod Podge to just kind of seal that ink so it doesn't run everywhere. And if you're going to be putting it outside at all, you're going to want to UV protect it. The sun will fade the ink like crazy. Now this is what it looks like once I'm done doing what I'm doing. That's what the bottom looks like until I sand those little bumps off. But I just painted it black on the back, and you guys will understand why. I'm going to be double resining this. So I'm going to use a black Sharpie, and I'm going to find my center dot that is always in our lovely HappyDottingCompany round molds. I love that center dot. It helps me with everything. So the pencil won't stick to resin very well, so I had to use a Sharpie in order to find my circle. And I'm going to fill in all of the outside, except for in that little circle I made. This is all going to be black. So if you don't like the runs down the side of the rocks or the white blotches or any of that, you're hiding it now. You're only going to keep that center, and that is going to be framed in artwork. It's going to look fantastic. So make sure that if you are going to put your stone outside, even with acrylic paint, it will fade in the sun. So always give it a UV coat or spray it with like a Krylon UV protectant, and let it dry really well before you resin. That way it doesn't get bleached by the sun, because ink does bleach quickly. And so does paint, actually. So always, if your stone is going outside, make sure you spray on that UV. Most of my stones are inside. A lot of people put them on shelves or like desks or, you know, stuff like that. A little place where they keep painted stones. So yeah, if you are putting it outside, it's always good to spray it with a UV spray. Look at that. It's beautiful. I love it. Now, I always have to double resin when I do these stones because I want to keep that color in place. And if you try to paint over top of ink, it bleeds through. So if you resin it, it won't bleed through and you can paint whatever you want on top of it. So that's why I always resin first, then I do my artwork on it, then I resin it again. So this looks a little bit strange. I've pulled out my Sharpie marker again, but it's just a guide. I'm going to be doing a dragonfly. You guys have seen me do jellyflies before. There's a small picture on my YouTube channel of a dragonfly, and that is what I'm showing you how to paint. A lot of people have asked me, how did you do the background? What did you do? How did you do it? Well, I'm here to show you today that this is how I did it. I was playing with alcohol inks a while back. Didn't really know if I was doing it right. Don't know the rules, you know, like I'm just experimenting. By the way, I screwed up on my wing, so I just used a wet cotton swab or a Q-tip and wiped it off because resin is heaven. Once you resin that surface, you can just like make as many mistakes as you want on top of it pretty much and just wipe it right back off. And so you do have to be careful not to wipe it off while you're working on it. You want to let it dry, but it will scratch off once it's dry. So you have to be careful. But I love that I can just make mistake after mistake over top of it, and like I'm doing now. And I can keep adjusting until I'm happy. Q-tips come in handy. And to remove any of my Sharpie, I use nail polish remover. It removes without like hurting my resin too much. Rubbing alcohol doesn't quite take it off, but nail polish remover takes it off. So that's what I'm using now. I'm erasing my guides because I just wanted to know where my wings were going to be, where my body was going to be. I wanted it to be in the center of the stone, or at least somewhat centered. And now I'm just removing my Sharpie lines because those will bleed through. Those will show and they will bleed through my painting because it's ink, just like alcohol ink. I was also told that you can use Sharpies and alcohol ink and make your own alcohol ink instead of spending the money that I've spent. But definitely do your research first and make sure you're doing that kind of stuff outside or in a very well ventilated area so that you're not hurting yourself once again. Any experimenting, we really don't know. Like even gold leaf paint is very toxic, and not this paint that I'm using now, but gold leaf, liquid gold leaf. I've used it in the past and it's like there's some warnings on that jar. So keep in mind, we're having fun with art, but some of the art stuff that we use is not safe. So be very, very careful. So now I'm filling in my dragonfly body, the jellyfly part of it. I'm filling it all in with white, and I'm going to let that white paint dry because we're kind of priming the background that we're working with. And then we're going to jellify it. Jellify the jellyfly. My vocabulary will never change. It's always going to be strange, made up words. Welcome to my life. So I'm going to let that white paint dry. We're going to leave the wings alone. They're not perfect. They're not even. They're not the same length. They're not going the same directions, but that's okay. It's still going to look gorgeous when we're done. I'm going to use peacock feather from Martha Stewart. I will leave my tutorial in the description on how I do alcohol inks so that you can learn a little bit more. Keep in mind the warnings that I gave you in this one. And I will also put a link for resin, a link for my blending brush, my fine lining brush, everything you need to know to create this stone, the Happy Dotting Company link. Whoops, I had some water on my brush there. But now we're going to jellify the jellyfly, and that is I do a little bit of peacock feather on the one side, and I do a little bit of white on the other side, and we're just going to kind of fade that white into the blue, and then we'll make it look shiny and jelly bean like a little bit later when we add some shine to it. So there's a lot to this. All of the information that you need will be listed in the description of my video. I do have new merch with the Hamsa, a dotted Hamsa, and it's just gorgeous. I've ordered myself the white, or I think it's called Heather. It's super nice, super comfy hoodie, and it's got a beautiful, colorful dotted Hamsa on it. So guys, check out my new merch in my store. And don't forget to visit my Etsy shop because I'll have a lot of alcohol ink typed stones in there, probably today, possibly, we will see. There's a lot you can do and make really, really pretty backgrounds. So keep that in mind, but be safe. Be safe. That's all that I care about. You can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm literally doing the same thing. Each little part of the dragonfly or jellyfly is like a little jelly bean, and I'm lightening the side of each individual bean, body bean, and then we're going to make it look a lot more shiny in a little while. I'm also going to outline it with gold and black, so that each little bean is separated and attached at the same time. And we're going to clean up any mess, because you can see I'm making a mess. I'm using my little blending brush, but it's still making a mess. So I got to clean up some stuff as well. And that's okay. We can do that on top of resin. It makes it fun. My resin tutorial, everything is in the description of my videos. And like glitter, I'm going to be using some holographic glitter on the wings and a nail top coat from the Pink Chair. You can use my discount code Rachel Mitchell at the Pink Chair if you want to get yourself some holographic nail powder, or if you want to get yourself some crystals to stick, rhinestones, brushes. They have brushes, really nice brushes, and they're for nails. So, you know, you could do a lot with them. I'm just cleaning up my mess, making sure that everything's outlined. You can also scratch it off if it's dry. So I just use like a dotting tool and scratch off little bits that I don't want there with my dotting tool. There's so many things you can do once it's been resined. So none of that ink is bleeding through to my jellyfly at all. So that makes me happy. I'm now going to outline everything in black. I'm even going to outline the wings in black. But back to the Pink Chair, you can get so much stuff there. Just make sure you use my discount code Rachel Mitchell. And also the Happy Dotting Company offers a discount code as well from me. Use Rachel's Rocks Canada before you check out, and you'll receive 10% discount if you spend $10 or more. So thank you, Happy Dotting Company, for your amazing molds. Oh, got to erase some stuff there. I don't know what I'd do without them, because I have long winters here in Ontario, Northern Ontario, and rocks are not easily accessible. Landscaping companies, just even along the side of the road, it's not accessible for like sometimes 6 months out of the year. So these molded stones have really saved my life, and I love them because I love round things. So anything round is great. But she doesn't just have round molds. Keep that in mind. There's a really cool multi-mold that I use all the time, and I share the stones with you guys as well on my tutorials. So make sure you click in the description of each video that I put up, because that's where all the info is, all the paint colors that I used, all the stuff that I'm using, my paintbrush, all of that stuff. I'm hoping to someday be able to announce to you that I can offer paintbrushes for sale. but that hasn't happened quite yet. I'm sorry. So I am shining these little beans up. I'm just adding a little blip of white paint, blip and blop, just to make it look extra duper duper super duper whatever shiny. They look shiny now. They look super shiny. And oh, before anyone gets upset, there's his legs. There's his little feelers. And yes, dragonflies do have little antennae. I'm just fixing some of my gold, and you can just see all that glitter coming through. Oh my gosh, it looks like a marbled glass surface that we're painting on right now. And it makes me happy. All that color just makes me so happy. I just can't even explain it to you. Things are fun right now. I'm homeschooling. And then I do tutorials when I can. I've actually made my husband take the kids to go look for fish. Because we're in lockdown and we're homeschooling and we're not allowed to go anywhere unless it's essential. We can't even buy anything unless it's essential items. So it's been kind of like a little bit sad, a little bit hard to keep your spirits up. But color makes me happy. So if you see a lot of colorful tutorials coming out, that is why. That is why I need that color in my life. So I'm done outlining everything. The gold is just drying on my dragonfly right now because I did just do my wings again, making sure that they were the way I wanted them to be. And then I'm going to be adding some holographic nail powder, like I said, a little bit later. But now we are going to do a funky dotted design on the outside to carry on. We don't want to just leave it black, but you can if you want. It's totally up to you. But there was something missing from my project. There were no dots. So I'm going to be adding a whole bunch of dots. We're going to be using some of the colors that stand out to me the most in the background. I love that blue color that the jellyfly is. I love that. It's like a teal, like a peacock teal color, and I really like that color. It's like one of my favorites. You've seen it a lot throughout my tutorials. I just like that color. It makes me happy. So I'm bringing that same color down around these gold dots that I just placed around the frame. Now, the easiest way for me to do these gold dots that I did is to start one at the bottom, one at the top, one at the left, one at the right, and then go in between all of those ones and in between again if you feel like it, and if there's room. It's totally up to you. But I'm leaving a little bit of space between my gold dots this time, simply so that I can do some walking of dots. We're going to do some walking and dotting and talking. Dotting and talking and walking. That's what we're getting. I'm going to have some coffee. How about that? Never fails. My goofy self comes out at some point. Now, another color that stood out for me was that bright green. So I'm using Swing Set Green from Martha Stewart. I don't always use Martha Stewart paints, although that's all I've used really so far. Folkart and Martha Stewart. That's usually what my go-to paints are. So I'm going to be using a little bit of Moon Yellow and some Hot Pink from Martha Stewart as well. Boy, Martha, you are popular today. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are the main colors that stand out to me in here. And so I'm just going to kind of incorporate walking the dots around, and I'm using a smaller dotting tool, and I'm not being too careful. Some of my dots don't look like dots. They look like blobs. They look like twin blobs, logs even at times. You look at it and go, what is that? But yeah, don't worry. It's gonna look like frilly, colorful lace, and you don't have to be perfect with it. I get messages from people and they're just like, I'm just not ready for dotting. It's just too intricate. It's so fun, and you don't have to be perfect. If you're being told by people that you're dotting wrong, well, you're wrong. They're wrong, and you're doing it right. You dot the way you want to, and eventually, with practice, it just gets better. I still make a mess when I'm working too fast, or if I've got a little bit of time to work on a stone. I rush and I make a mess, and my dots aren't perfect, and that's okay. I've never had anyone leave a review on my Etsy shop. Out of all the reviews that I have, I've never had anyone say her dots are so messy and uneven. Not once. I actually don't get those comments on my YouTube videos either. And they're not perfect little dots. They're little blobs sometimes. And that's okay. They still look really pretty. If someone is like eyeing up your dots that closely, they should move along. That's just it. That's it. That's all. So now I'm going to do the holographic wings. I'm using a little bit of Joann's. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Top Shine Top Coat. It's for nails. You do need a UV light to cure this top coat. It's a UV gel. So I'll be using a light to cure the top of it. And I'm going to put some really fine holographic nail powder on there. And I'm just going to rub it on with a little eyeshadow brush or eyeshadow sponge. Usually when I buy holographic powders or little chrome powders for nails, they send you a couple like little eyeshadow sponges to use with them. So they're handy, very handy. You don't have to use nail top coat. You don't have to use holographic powder like I'm using. You don't have to. Don't go out and buy the stuff if you don't have it. If you have hologram 2796, which is like, I don't know, sometimes you can buy it for $2 a bottle at Walmart or Michael's, or if your stores are open and they're letting you purchase stuff, check for just glitter paint and put glitter paint on the wings. You still want to be able to see that color, that beautiful background that we created. You still want to see it. And most dragonfly wings are transparent in some way, but we're just shining them up a little. We're making them fancified. So as if there's not enough color already, we're like, look at the wings just did. Do you see that? Do you see that? Now I am going to resin again. You guys don't see that process, but I do have resin tutorials. And this, my friends, is what we end up with. It is so beautiful, so colorful. It's been sitting on my desk and I can't take my eyes off it. It's gorgeous. I love dragonflies. I love color. I love dots. I love gold. I love glitter. This is a perfect stone for me and for you. I hope you guys really love this tutorial. I hope you're going to have fun with alcohol inks. You can make them again with Sharpie markers and rubbing alcohol, but be careful and be safe. And same with resin, be safe with it. Once you add ink to resin, it makes it toxic. Art resin is non-toxic until you add other products to it. So if you're going to use art resin, be safe as well. I love you guys. I will see you very, very soon with some new cool tutorials. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. And once again, I'm accepting all tips and tricks in the comments. I'm learning as I go, and I'm showing you what I learned. So be safe. I love you guys. Keep painting. I will see you soon. Bye.